What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Cologne. Today, we're going to be looking at and reviewing a new 2024 release from YSL, and that is going to be the MYSLF Le Parfum. I don't have a bottle of this, but luckily for me, the local store that I frequent sometimes did have several of these little samplers for me to try. So they ended up giving about 3 or 4 of them. That way, I could get a few wears and kind of get a little breakdown of it. But yeah, so that is what we're going to be going over today is the new MYSLF Le Parfum. Alrighty, so usually this is the part of the video where I go to show off an atomizer, but unfortunately I do not have the bottle, so we're just going to be stuck with this little thing right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut straight to the part where I put it on my arm. Went a little heavy with it just because tiny atomizer, sometimes that's what you have to do. So to me, when this first gets on your skin, when it first kind of gets in the air, you get a little bit of floral, you get a little touch of some of that orange blossom. And when this first gets in the air, when it first gets on your skin, it doesn't really seem like that complex for fragrance. It seems to be very straightforward, much like the predecessor, the regular YSL myself. So I feel like this one's gonna run in that same kind of linear direction. Just based off the initial sprays on the skin, it smells a little deeper, a little bit richer, but unfortunately it does smell a lot of the same. Hopefully that changes a little bit. Hopefully that switches it up a little bit. The note breakdown on this one's a little bit different from the other ones. Based on what I was able to find online, going over the notes, it has top notes of black pepper, has middle notes of orange blossom, and then has base notes of bourbon vanilla, amber, patchouli, and some wood notes. Based on the wood notes, I imagine it would be a cleaner style of wood, like a cedar wood or a sandalwood, somewhere in there. I don't really see like this having like an oak note or like a driftwood or anything like that. Something's kind of like dirtier. So I just gave this about 15 minutes or so to dry down to kind of test and see where it's at. And the orange blossom gets a little bit stronger. I don't really get much pepper out of this. It's not really a real kind of peppery style of fragrance. If it is, it's very soft pepper, so it's nothing that's too overwhelming. So that part's nice. It is a very pleasant scent. It does smell good. But as it dries down, the thing that I'm starting to pick up the most is a little bit of that vanilla, and it's developing as it dries. It's starting to develop a pretty good floral note. It's it's got a lot of floral stuff going on in here. So for the note breakdown just being orange blossom, I feel like there's more than that in here. So as this dries down a little bit more, we're going to get into the price, availability, and performance. The price on this is pretty steep actually for what you get. Pretty much it's only going to be retail side right now. The 60 mil on these is running about the 130 to 150, and if you really love it, the 100 mil, they're running somewhere in between that 180 to 200. Hopefully discounters get these soon. Normally, if discounters track the way they did on the original, you should be able to get the 100 mil for about that 120 to 140 range, hopefully. So yeah, I will say so far as this is drying down, the price is a little steep for what you get. Now on to the performance. So the longevity on this is pretty good. The first few times I've worn it, I got somewhere around that 7-8 hour range, which is significantly better than the original myself. The projection is pretty rock solid. It's, that 2 foot plus projection, and the sillage same. Like, this is actually a pretty good performing fragrance that I can tell so far on my skin. So I gave it about another 10-15 minutes just to let it dry all the way down. And unfortunately, when this does get to the deepest parts of the dry down, it doesn't really have much change from that mid all the way down to the base. It stays a little floral, a little bit of the woody notes start to come out. It's a little bit of sweet to it. And all in all, it's not bad. I would say that this is going to be another mass appeal release from YSL. It smells good. Like, it doesn't smell bad at all. It smells very good, smells very pleasant. Smells like this would be an incredibly easy wear for pretty much anyone that enjoys wearing fragrances. But in the deepest parts of the dry down, some of that amber starts to come through just a little bit, and some of that patchouli kind of greens it up just a little. So when it gets all the way down to the base, you are left with some solid wood notes in there that's got some green hints in the background that's a little bit touch of sweet. To me, it feels kind of generic. It feels it's a little too mass appealing for my taste, I guess you could say. If I had to give this fragrance a rating right now, I would give it an 8 out of 10. And the reason I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10, my biggest issue with the fragrance, it smells way too similar to the original myself. Literally all they did was take the myself DNA, make it a little bit sweeter, make it a little more floral, made the performance a little bit better, which isn't bad. You know, it's not a bad smell by, or it's not a bad fragrance by any stretch. It smells good. YSL has got a good name, so you know you're going to get a quality fragrance. It's just it smells more of the same that they've already put out there. And the unfortunate part of that is you're left with, if you bought a second fragrance that would match the first, you're gonna have two fragrances that smell essentially the same. And unfortunately, this is not a cheap fragrance. As I said, the 60 mils about 150, the 100 mils almost 200 bucks. That's pretty steep for a fragrance that literally already has a twin on the market. I can't really say that this would be worth the money in this case. I feel like if you bought it expecting some big change, you're going to be disappointed, because it really, to me, on my skin that I can tell, it doesn't really change that much. I actually prefer this one just a little bit more, because I kind of like some of the sweetness they put in, and I like some of the floralness they put in. This is what I felt like the original myself should have been. It's just hard to justify the price and the profile because it's already there. They've already done it. It's just a little beefier. A lot of people would probably prefer the original myself just because it's a little bit softer. It's not as dark. It's not as rich. So that means it's not going to be as intense. Me, I kind of prefer those little darker, richer, more to them fragrances. I can't call this a bad release by YSL because it does smell good. My biggest complaint is that there's really not much of a change. I kind of wish they'd went a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, a little richer. You know, maybe thrown some other spicier stuff in there. Maybe kind of went with some honey or some tobacco, or just something that kind of would have pushed it further in a different direction. But all in all, it's a safe blind by YSL. They're probably going to sell a ton of this stuff because it does still smell good. It's just, if you're someone who has a lot of fragrances, if you're someone who really liked the original myself, I can't really see the justification of owning both. I do think that's going to get us wrapped up for today. I'm going to keep on wearing this. Hopefully my opinion changes a little bit. Hopefully this has to grow on me a little bit more. But let me know in the comments what y'all think about this fragrance. If y'all tried it, if you think it's more the same, if you think that they actually changed more than what I'm realizing. Like I said, I'm going to continue to wear this. I'm going to keep trying it out. And I'll be curious to see what YSL does next with the MYSLF line. If they want to try to push it even further. Hopefully they spice it up moving forward, but who knows. But that is going to get us wrapped up. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, for watching these videos and everything else. I truly appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next time.